here are a few ways that you can support us by supporting my sponsors. Elmer Garcia, Realtor, and AVS Concepts, Audio and Video Home Entertainment. Those are my sponsors. Go follow them. You can find the information on the description. The other way you can also find out of everything that we're doing is join our newsletter at tbbbyalicia.com, and that's going to give you all the things that we're talking about, everything, all the resources, all the stuff that you want to know. The other way that you can also support us and keep our podcast striving is through joining our Global Vibes Insider community. What is that? What is the Vibes Global Insider? It is a group where you can come in as an insider and subscribe and join to the community. And it was created for you, to inspire you, to educate, to show how you can craft the life you wish to live. It is filled with experiences, including in-person events, business masterminds, speakers, resources. You get shout outs in the podcast. We invite you to workshops. We get to go on local trips and even wine tastings. So how do you get to join that group? So you'll go to my website at tbbbyalicia.com, and then you select the community group, and there's 3 tiers. The first tier is the secret tier. It's for $10, and that includes a t-shirt, a signed book by me, and a shout out on the podcast, $10 a month. The next tier is the explorer tier, and that is for $25 a month, and it's a t-shirt, a book, and a shout out. Plus, I'm including a monthly one-to-one chat with me, and those are monthly one-on-one chats with me. You don't want to miss those. Those are amazing 30-minute one-to-one chats for $25. And the last tier is a $45 Globetrotter, and that includes all the things I mentioned before: the t-shirt, the book, the monthly one-on-one, the shout out on the podcast. Plus, you get invite to members only, insider only events, a welcome travel gift box. You know, I bring great things for my travels. And also I'm adding a digital style mood board for you. It includes styling, it includes accessories, everything customized and personal for you. Again, this is how you can contribute, and you can be a part of us, and you help us keep our podcast thriving. I hope you join. Welcome back to Vibes by Alicia podcast. I am thrilled that you're here and giving me a bit of your ear to hear stories and ideas that I find meaningful and inspiring. This podcast is designed to encourage all of you to be so inspirational that other people crave your vibes. Guys, today I have the pleasure of introducing to you a few Latina bosses, by the way, that are making waves in Houston and abroad. So first of all, welcome to Carolina. Carolina is a phenomenal woman. She is the owner of Meraki Wayuu, a beautiful artisan shop that seeks to empower global artisans in disadvantaged areas and raise multicultural awareness, promote social justice, and cultural preservation through economic fair. Carolina always wanted to incorporate her passion for social work with the intention of becoming a female entrepreneur, and in doing so, she created Meraki Wayuu. She's also the founder of Poder Hispano, a Hispanic Heritage Month celebration taking place in October, and I'm so excited that we can share that with you and with all of you guys. Thank you for being here, Carolina. I appreciate it. Next, let's meet Gabriella. Gabi Campos is a born and raised Houstonian. She is a founder and designer of Miradela and Miradela Gift Shop. She's also the co-founder and marketing event coordinator of HTX Boss Babes, a local organization. Additionally, she's also the founder and event director for Houston's first Pan Dulce theme event, Sweet Like Pan Dulce Pop-Up. And wait, we're not done. She's also a podcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So her podcast, Sweet Like Pan Dulce, is out, and you can listen to it. Welcome, Gabi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I have another Gabi in the in the panel today. And so this is a different Gabi. Gabi spells it Gabi, and Gabi Miradela is Gabby. Okay. So that's how I'm making the difference. Gabi De la Rosa. Gabi is a editor. She's a public relations specialist. She's a freelance writer and a content creator. Gabi De la Rosa is also the creator of Texas Chingona, a blog and shop that showcases news, trends, and conversations for empowered Latinas. And she's taken her, actually, I'm so excited about your teas because they go all over the world with me, Gabby. You know that I'm always posting your photos because I always get the best compliments. They're like, where did you get that? Oh, that's in Texas. You got to go to Texas to get them. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Ladies, I'm so excited that you're here because you know what? This episode for me was about not only Hispanic Heritage Month, was about exposing the reasons why a lot of Latinas are doing the business the way they're doing business for themselves. I think it's a different way of how we're doing business. I think for us, it's very much in tune with what's in our heart, right? And our purpose in our life. It's not just a business to make money. It really has a purpose and there's like a big picture. I feel that. So, you know, the reason why I wanted to bring y'all is because I wanted to discuss how your family and your heritage shaped your perspective and changed how you influence and how it's influenced you, how they have influenced you. So let's start with Gabi of Miradela. I have a few things that I want to, get to know a little bit about you. So welcome to the podcast again. Thank you so much for making the time to be here. We are starting Hispanic Heritage Month. It is September 15th and then goes through what? October 15th, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's like a month in there. And I find that for me, it's just like a way to introduce the world to you guys and you guys to the world. So thank you for being here. So Miradela and Sweet Like Pan Dulce. So, one of the things that you mentioned in your website is that you wanted to make it feel like home.
Exactly.
Right. So, and it's something that celebrates your cultura, something that's very important to you. I especially love your chiflada tea, which I'm wearing.
I love it.
I love it because I definitely am a chiflada. My husband says, you're the most spoiled woman that I've ever met. And I'm like, yep, I sure am. And, no shame. But how did you come to embrace the word chiflada? And why is that like a big, I think it's like one of those identifiers. Whenever somebody sees it, oh, yeah, I know where you got that.
It's so funny. I feel like people that don't know the meaning of chiflada, and when I do explain it, they're like, you know what, I do know somebody that's spoiled or I'm spoiled that way. So it's definitely brought either like non-speaking, Spanish speakers together. But with the history behind that, me growing up, I was the youngest of two sisters. Okay. And so I was always, I guess, getting my way with things. Mm-hmm. And that's where my nickname kind of came about, being a chiflada or being called chiflada. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely something I grew up as a child and, in a Mexican household with both of my parents being from Mexico. And I wanted, and that was actually one of my first designs I came up with Miradela. And I wanted it to be something that I connected with. And I always think, when you come out with a product, you have to truly believe in it. And you're not just, like you said, it's not all about making the money. It's about making that connection and it has to feel special, Mm-hmm. And so when I came out with that design, I was like, I think I'm really onto something. And then I released it. That was like almost 5 years ago. And I released it in a mug and so many people connected with it. Like you could love that with that. And, it's something fun and it's nothing to be like mean about, and there's some people that kind of say that it's kind of like something mean, but it's not. No, it's something like a word of endearment. I kind of feel, Yeah. And but yeah, so just like you said, my products and my brand, I want it to connect how I felt growing up with my family, and I feel like my customers have that connection. Yeah, they have relatable stories, or if they see like things in my store or my brand like pan dulce, or just little items that kind of just connect us in that way of how we were raised growing up. And but yes, and I always have to say, like with Sweet Like Pan Dulce, I always felt like growing up going to my mom's or to my grandma's house, there was always somebody that brought it, right? And it kind of just brought up that connection and people together. Right. And that's another reason why I started the podcast, and then the podcast grew into the market, the event. And with that being said, it grew into like 50 vendors. We have hundreds of people that come together for pan dulce. And it's like a bigger celebration rather than having it at home, but it's a huge celebration with a bigger family now. You know? Because
I find that a lot of people connect to it. They connect to those words. They connect to those things. And I know for Gabi De la Rosa, the word chingona was like, it's a badass. And I feel like, you know, when we were growing up, like my dad would call me cabrona all the time. He would say like, "Ay, Alicia, no seas tan cabrona." But it wasn't derogatory. No. It wasn't like he was telling me like, calm down, like shut up. He wasn't saying that. He would just laugh at it like, oh, there you go again, like being, you know, intense like you always are, like leave people alone, don't be so cabrona. But I love Gabi. Let's talk a little bit about her chiflada word and your chingona word. Why was that like an important, because that was like the title of your blog. It was Texas Chingona. Right. Okay, so how are we embracing these words that at one point, you know, for some people were like, don't call me that. Like, I don't want you to call me that. But we were like, hell yeah, I am. Yeah. Right. That's who I am.
Well, I think that a lot of these words are cultural identifiers. When you grow up this way, when you grew up in a certain part of, for us, Texas, South Texas, they have their own meaning. And even in Mexico, chingona it just means you're a badass, powerful woman. If you know the true meaning of the word, it's not, if you look it up in like Urban Dictionary, it's a little graphic. But I embrace it as, you know, I'm a badass woman and this is who I am and this is who I want to follow me. So the women, and I believe me, even with chiflada, because chiflada has an alternate meaning. It can mean like you're crazy.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
But growing up, chiflada was you're spoiled. Like it was kind of like cute, like, you know. So the way that I always thought about it when I got negativity was, okay, if you think of it that way, or if you think chiflada means something bad, then you're not my audience, and that's okay. Yeah, you know, it's okay. But if you're a badass woman, come along.
But do you ladies feel like you have to educate your audience and educate your purchasers, your consumers, and like it's coming from a great place. It's coming from a place of love. I never took offense to any of these words. Even to the word cabrón, I never like took offense to it. I was just in Spain and I was telling them how that's like a big word in Mexico. And they're like, oh, we love it. We love that word, you know, because it's all sort of like, they all see it like Mexican women are like, they're fiery and they're strong and they're like, you know, a little wild and crazy, but they think of it in a good way. But I think in a lot of ways, a lot of people as we were growing up, we saw it like, you know, don't call me that. Like, that's not but it really isn't a bad thing, right? It's kind of embracing that strength in us and embracing that, we are spoiled. You know, you're the baby of the family. The baby of my family is 33 years old. And let me tell you, he's a chiflado. He is so chiflado. And he is still chiflado by all of us that are older than him. You know, we spoil that kid like crazy. And he's a 33-year-old. So that's who we are, right? That's part of what becomes us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So continuing on that conversation, I read that your business was inspired by your abuelita, Adela. Yeah. So tell me how she influenced you, or how did that come about?
My grandma growing up, like most grandmas, would always, you know, cook, make us something delicious to eat, you know, growing up. And she loved to sew, and she always made us dresses, all her grandbabies' dresses. She probably had like 10, 15 grandbabies, and we all each had a dress. She found time to make us custom dresses. And at the time, you know, growing up, I was always into fashion. And I feel like that kind of was inspired from my grandmother. Her sewing, just watching her growing up. And when I started Miradela, it was in the very beginning stages. I was actually making jewelry. I was kind of just testing out the waters on what direction I wanted to go to. But I was always a creative at heart, even as a young kid. And when she passed away, and I mentioned this in I think the first episode of my podcast, about how it kind of just sparked a fire that I realized when she passed away, all the beautiful things she's given me and inspired me. And we went to her house. Everybody was kind of grabbing kind of mementos, like close family of hers. And my aunt, she gave me this big box of just kind of her sewing needles, her fabrics, like everything. And just for my aunt to be like, I think you would most of all appreciate this.
Wow.
And that was something my grandma cherished the most, was all her, all the things she made with, all her sewing needles and her fabrics. And so being able to go home, and I felt like, man, like I was just so inspired to create something. I'm like, you know what? I feel this is the direction Miradela needs to go in. And
wow.
So I kind of dug deep, and then, Chiflada came, something that was inspired with me. And then, being inspired with pan dulce and everything that my family grew importance, like growing up, just those little mementos and those details I wanted to bring to my brand.
Gotcha.
And I guess like how you mentioned earlier, that's what that's what I want my brand and my shop to feel like home. I want it to feel fun, and because that's how my grandma was. My grandma was funny. She was just, I just loved her so much. And
you know what? And you can sense that when you walk into your shop, you can feel homey. Yeah, it feels comfort. It feels like you belong.
Exactly.
And that is not an easy thing to create in terms of like creating a climate and an environment around products and services, and creating that sense of like, this feels good. I like it. I want to shop here more.
And exactly, and that's how my grandma made everybody feel, and I'm sure everybody can relate to somebody that makes them feel that way. And I want it, not like I mentioned, like there's, I have so many customers that don't speak Spanish, but they love to come to the shop because they want to learn, or they gravitate towards like the aesthetic, or, just the fact they're in Houston and they want to support, local business, and, they love the culture too. And, but yeah, that's where my inspiration grew from.
And that's like a beautiful validation that other people outside of our culture are embracing it and wanting to know more about it. I love that. And it seems like you're carrying on the creativity that your grandmother had. She was a creative woman. And so it's sort of a way for you to carry her legacy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So Carolina, I want to talk a little bit about your business, Meraki Wayuu. And so from what I understand, it comes from the Wayuu tribe of the Guajira in Colombia. You're Colombian.
Born in New York, but yes, my parents are Colombian.
Yes. Your mission is to empower global artisans in disadvantaged areas. And I feel like that is like another component to like where Latinas are heading. It's like, it's not just about us, it's about the people that are giving us some of their, I guess, some of their gifts, right? Some of their skill sets and their gifts. And promoting cultural preservation is very important for you, and also economic fair trade. So why is it important for you to share these artisans with the world and share them with us? Why is that such an important thing for you?
So for me, it's like backwards. You guys, like Gabi and Gabi 1, Gabi 2, they have this artistic, they have creativity. And I think when I started my business, it was sort of backwards. I was a social worker working in nonprofit managed care. So when I became a stay-at-home mom and started Meraki Wayuu, I knew that I needed a product where I could still incorporate, like you said before, my passion for what my career was. And I knew that I wanted to choose a product that stood by that. And that is why I went ahead and I said, wait, like, back home, these mochilas or bucket bags are part of our culture. They're part of our, fashion. They use it daily. So I was able to meet with a gentleman that works and lives in La Guajira. And I chose that product because, again, we've had this conversation before too, where people can explore and experience other cultures through travel, but travel is not accessible to everyone, right?
Right.
So what are other ways that people can experience other cultures through food, through the purchase of a product? So I think that is what drove me to choose that product and just share it with people here in the U.S. or wherever they could reach us.
Right. And so you bring them in. So you actually travel to Colombia and you hand select the pieces.
Well, for the first time, I did that. Okay. And then we realized that it's easy for me to just purchase products they already have, and that helps them move product that they are unable to sell. So we do have a way of purchasing, and then they deliver the items.
Okay. What was your introduction to that culture? Through your parents, through your grandparents, or were you someone that always like sought to find those things and bring them into the bigger mainstream audience?
So I think I share with a lot of people, or a lot of us first generations, right, where we're born here in the US, but we're constantly going back home, right? Like home to where our parents were from. So growing up, every summer, that's where we would go to. We'd go back to Colombia. We would stay there 3 months for the summer. So I think that's when I was introduced to the art of the Wayuu tribe. Because like I said, when you're in the city, even the mochilas are worn. And even in the farm, like even the guys, like since it's so sturdy, it's used for coffee, like grains, and you can hold it or go into town and then bring stuff back. So I was around it. So it just came easy to choose that product. Yeah.
It was a natural percent. Oh, that's awesome. You know, and I remember just, you know, when I met you and just feeling those bags, they feel very sturdy. They feel like they're very well made. And something like, you know, Latinas in this country, you know, getting a little bit of pieces of like other parts of the world is like so like unique, because sometimes you're not able to go to those countries, and just grabbing a piece like that, you feel like you've traveled a little way.
And you actually hold on to those pieces for such a long time.
They do.
And like years, because of the quality too.
Yeah.
And I have several pieces too that like, of either bags or like little like little money, you know, kind of pouches. Like I've had for years, just because it's just like a special memento too, right? Yeah,
it is. It's a little bit of giving back, and it's so important for you to also like highlight the artisans that make these bags, and that's something that I noticed from your website.
Yeah, I love to do that again, because it's not me. I'm not the one making it, you know. So I want to make sure that they are given the highlight and credit that they deserve. And also it's an art that is slowly dwindling or dying out because of the younger generations that are seeking, I guess, better economic stability for them. But again, we have to remember that there is a big population that is staying and is still doing the art, and that still needs to maintain and sustain their living situations. So
wow, what an important, and it's like a beautiful mission to have, you know, to kind of support those things. Gabi De la Rosa, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your writing, because, you know, one thing that I've noticed about your writing is it is centered around Latinas and their lifestyle. You know, one of the things that I noticed in the things that I've been reading about you is that you highlight the things that Latinas would be interested in, maybe things that they could try, exposing them to different ideas, venues, projects, businesses. There's a blog that you have that I love, and I read it a few times. It's called 3 Ways to Elevate Your Chingona Status, which is like, I love that, because I'm like, oh, did I do all 3 of those? I need to know if I'm doing them. I need to do those. And then there's another one where, you know, you give travel tips, you interview Latina authors. Why is it so important that Latinas are a particularly important audience for you? Why is that?
You know, I think growing up, I grew up in South Texas, and in Corpus Christi, and it was predominantly either white or Hispanic. There was a sprinkle of all the other stuff, but it, you know, that was what it was. And so I grew up just thinking everyone was like me. And not until I went to college did I realize, whoa, you know, not everybody's brown or white. And I really missed my culture, and I missed those things, and I sought it out. And so when I started writing, I kind of thought, well, there has to be people like me that maybe they want to travel, they don't know where to go. They want to hit up some hot spots in Houston, they don't know where. They want to find out about, you know, great products, but they don't know where those are. And so I just wanted to be able to sort of highlight all of those things.
How important do you think it is to have that Latina voice in magazines, in digital media, in papers? You're one of a few, because I know there's not that many women like you. You publish in the Houstonia magazine, right? In Culture, is it the Culture Map as well?
Yeah.
Like, you're in different publications. Why are you one of the very few voices in that realm?
I'm not sure why I'm the only one of very few, but I think it's important that I have a seat at the table. And I think it's important to have that voice. And, you know, I just pitched an editor yesterday at a very large publication. I was like, okay, Hispanic Heritage Month, what are you going to do? And he was like, I said, okay, well, what have you done in the past? And he said, nothing. And I thought, how can we be in Houston, the fourth largest city in the United States, with a population of almost 48% Latino, and you've done nothing?
Yeah.
So maybe it takes someone who's brown to come to the table and say, okay, well, this is the year we're going to do it. And make that happen year after year.
Were they embracing your ideas? Were they listening to you?
Yes.
Because I feel like that's the hardest part, is to get them to even listen to us to begin with.
He was very receptive. It always hasn't been that way. I remember last year I had a really good pitch from a very high profile Latina actress. And I said, okay, you know, I interviewed her and I said, I have this ready to go. And she said no. And I said, okay, but let me just ask you, what are you doing for Hispanic Heritage Month? And she said nothing, period.
And she said no to what?
She did not want to run the article.
Oh, why? Because it wasn't...
She didn't give me a reason why, but I just thought, again, this was a statewide publication, and I just thought,
it wasn't flattering to her, or...
Well, it would have been flattering to the publication because she's very high profile and has been in several movies, but she didn't give me a reason.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And she just said, no, we're not going to run it, and no, we're not doing anything to honor the month.
Okay.
And, you know, what do you say?
I don't know.
Okay.
What do you say?
Yeah, I said... I asked pointed questions. She answered them truthfully. And, you know, I just thought in the back of my head, I thought, okay, I'm going to remember.
Gabby, I feel like you could post blind items. Like, so-and-so actress decided she didn't want to do this, and da-da-da-da-da. And like, oh my God, we're all guessing. Yeah. Who was it? You could do a bunch of blind items, I'm sure, because you probably interview a lot of people that are like, you know, on board or not on board, and somebody that you might think is like embracing the whole thing, and then other people that you think don't even care, and they're like, yeah, I want to do it. What do you need? What do you want?
Yeah. Well, and not just about Latinas. I've interviewed a lot of people and have a lot of stories about high-profile Houstonians in general.
Girl, let's do a blind item blog.
Stories.
I want the juicy stuff, and I want all the tea, right? Exactly. I think all of us do. Friends, I must tell you, I know the place to go if you need house audio, TV installation, security monitoring. I am telling you, these people are so good that I cannot wait to share them with you. AVS Concepts is the place to get all of these things taken care of. They're the experts in audio video. If you are entertaining and you need music, call them. If you just purchased a new house and you want to have security, you've got to call them. They are the best at all of this for you. I am so excited to share them with you. They are new sponsors for the podcast. You will not regret having them in your house. They can put anything up and create the most amazing surround sound. I am telling you, when I watch my movies, I like to watch them with surround sound. And thanks to AVS Concepts, I can do that. Follow them at their Instagram account, AVSC_HTX, or you can also find them at their website, avcschouston.com, and tell them that Alicia from Vines by Alicia sent you, and they will take care of you. I promise you. I think for all of you, I think I have a few questions that I definitely want our audience to go, because, you know, my audience is filled with women like us. You know, a lot of them are moms, they're entrepreneurs, they have side hustles, they're business women. Like this for me is like my voice and the way that I express myself and the way that I go out into the stratosphere, into the community, into the world. And there's a lot of women like us that are also, you know, they have their shirts, they have their, you know, jewelry. I know a lot of them that I buy from, because I'm always like, I don't like ask them for anything unless I buy stuff from them first. Like I'm always trying to make sure that I'm supporting them. I think one of the things that we get caught on is like, can you give me this and I'll post it, or can you give me that? And I'm the opposite. I'm like, I'll buy it from you and I'll post it from you. Because I think, number one, we have to support them with money. We have to actually support them with like buying things, right? It's not just like, I'll post it for you, yay. I'll share it on my social. That's not enough. Like they need to pay their bills as well. So one of the things that I want to hear from you all, and like maybe we start with you, Carolina, it's like, what sets you apart from the other people that are doing what you're doing? Like what makes you different?
what makes me different?
Yeah.
There's only one Carolina. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, we do know that.
No, different. My approach, I think, to like what we were talking again, approach to companies, my approach to how I manage the products that I'm selling. It's like I said, it's a combination of what I learned in my career and then what I do at home. I like to say a lot of transferable skills. So we all have transferable skills that we use and my mission, like I said, I think that's definitely what sets me apart. And that I purchase the items directly from the artisans. I'm not purchasing it from a second hand or.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're not like literally going through like a wholesaler, somebody that purchases and then goes to them, like a middle person.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And that's a good point to make. Because I think that's one of the things where we get stuck. We don't know where to go and how to get things.
And I pride myself in not bargaining. The price that he tells me, that's what we go with.
You know what? And that's a good point to make, because I think that can also be like a sign of disrespect for some of them, because they do put their time and effort into something that means a lot. And I think when it's handmade, it has a story, and that person like literally made it by hand. It wasn't purchased like a mass production company or wasn't like in a big factory. They actually make it with their hands. So Gabi from Miradela, what makes you different from everyone else? Like I see other ladies, making the t-shirts, doing the events. Why are you different?
I try to set myself apart from everyone just because I want to be genuine. I want to say that I'm genuine, and my thought process isn't, it's focused on an idea, and I take time to create a product. I'm not here to, I may do wholesale and I may mass produce items now, but I'm actually thinking and designing on items to where I'm not looking at what the other person is doing. I'm worried about who all the other Latinas that are in the same kind of
You're
category.
not looking at the competition.
I'm not. And they're not competition either, It's one of those things where, it's a whole group of us, and I'm not here to copy anybody else, but I'm here to just kind of be me.
Do you?
Yeah, just be me, And like Carolina said, there's only one you, there's only one me, and there's only one Gabi, And so just to I'm designing for myself, and then it happens to reciprocate to everybody else and connect. And so be it. It happened, And I, like you said, it comes naturally. And I want my designs to be received in that way, in a genuine way. And just kind of focusing on, myself,
Do you find that other people are copying a lot of the things that you're doing and the strategies that you're using?
Over the years, I have.
And are you offended by that?
No, I actually feel kind of flattered in a way, and I feel like, maybe I'm doing a good thing, something right. And it's funny, I try not to like Google either like the "you're like really bonita" phrase, that it's become very popular. I have it like in many stores now. And so I'm like, sometimes I'll Google it and then I see it on Etsy or like the phrase being copied.
So you're not trademarking anything or copywriting anything?
At the moment, no. As far as financially, I think I'm ready to do all that now.
Okay.
But I am working on that actually.
Okay, no, it's a good question because I'm wondering if you're working with a lawyer or someone that's advising you in terms of like how to protect your ideas.
Exactly. So now that I'm doing wholesale, now I'm going into the steps of doing the trademarking for certain designs that I have. Now that I've seen that it's like this year, it being copied.
Yes.
There's sometimes no way to control that at times.
Of course.
There's people that, that create things just a matter of just selling, right? And you can't not attack everybody, but go after everyone. And that's the kind of the way I see it. Like just time is very valuable. But if, hopefully in the long run, nobody on a bigger corporation or someone much bigger than I am takes a design that, that I've created and they use it for themselves. So now I'm kind of in the preparations like, okay, that's kind of a big deal. I think I need to protect myself and my hard work, and that's really important. But but yeah, it's just,
No, and I think that's one of the things that I think as Latinas, we don't consider, we don't think about maybe finding advisement outside of our little groups, right?
Yes.
Our inner circle. And I think in a lot of ways, we really are kind of like letting our ideas kind of be used and expanded upon, because we don't have that background and like, secure yourself. Save yourself from that, and like don't let it go, to the point where somebody's stealing your ideas. It's like you're like really bonita is like it's Miradela, and to see somebody else using them, and it's like really like popular actually.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one, yeah.
I have a friend, well, two friends actually. They own a big Latina brand called Shop JZD. And they, on numerous occasions, they'll have like, I think at one time they saw some of their designs at Ross.
Yeah.
I know Ross actually purchased these items from other people. Their designs were on like all these shirts, and it was really crazy. And then I kind of reached out to them like, how do you deal with this? Like, and even for them, like, they're like, look, if we had to trademark every design and try to go after every person, like, it
would be broke.
Yeah. So that's where I'm coming from too. And it's like, is it worth it? But it is sometimes at the end, but sometimes it's just like as a small business owner, it's like you have to kind of like, pick your battles sometimes. And
it's a little bit of like doing business, right? It is just part of the process.
Yeah, it's part of the territory.
It's part of the territory, yeah.
Well,
and being creative. Yes, Gabby, go for it.
I think it's also about educating your customer, because there's a difference between someone who goes to your booth, your store, your pop-up, and buys your shirt, than going to Ross.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's the clientele.
Yeah, it's just, it's not that same feeling. You're not buying it from,
And it's not. And it's one of those things that's the person that's truly supporting small business is going to buy it from you, or the one that's there to get the deal, the one that's probably going to negotiate, the one that those that negotiate,
they do it to us all the time as vendors. I know it's happened to
and
you
it's
guys.
like, like those that negotiate, and it's like, because we all deal with it.
It is.
And it kind of sucks.
You have to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's part of like what Gabby says, you kind of have to educate the purchaser and the audience that you're, because not only are you putting things out from your head and your creativity and your hard work and your effort that goes into it. I think a lot of people are very conscientious of like, okay, I'm going to purchase from the small business.
Yeah.
And I'm going to purchase from somebody that's actually bringing it in for like a bigger purpose as opposed to like a big corporation. And I think there's a trend. I think there's a movement happening right now where it's kind of like going into like, who can we support? Who has like our vision, our brand mission that we can like go, like that's how I see things now. Like for me, it's like when I buy something, is there like a bigger mission behind that? It's not just corporate. It's not just like Macy's putting something out or Nordstrom putting something out. They're doing something that's unique and special. When I'm going to go get gifts, by the way, I make sure that I go get my gifts from like small local vendors, or I go to the markets. Yeah. Because I know I'm going to get something that's like handmade, handcrafted, that's nobody else is going to have. Right. And I think it's just kind of like educating the community and the people that you're, and so do you find that it's part of what you're doing? I think you do a great job at that, Gabby, and the things that you post in your blog and the things that you're sharing.
I think it's a constant battle, to be honest. And I think TikTok has kind of made it worse.
Oh, really?
Because of all of the hauls. I have a Lulu haul today. I have a TJ Maxx haul. I have a whatever.
The hauls.
And
yeah.
How about it? I can't see that anymore.
Yeah. How about a small business haul? How about a Latino only?
Oh, girl, yes. Yes.
And you know what's so funny? I have like a little folder, like saved section, like on my Instagram, and somebody created a reel saying that, and it was like, instead of doing a big corporation kind of haul, why not do a small business haul? Because you're right,
we should.
It should be a trend.
We should, and why are we not doing it?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not on TikTok, and maybe I'm going to get on TikTok just to do that.
I refuse to.
So many.
I feel like, we are all tapping into consumer culture, right?
Yeah.
So why not educate people and say consumer culture doesn't have to mean Nordstrom's or Lulu or whatever. It can mean the pop-up down the street.
Yes.
It can mean the woman with your kids who's trying to sell whatever it is.
Yeah.
from clothing to accessories to food products.
Yes.
I mean, it's all important. So I think it's a constant battle that we have to keep fighting.
Yeah. And I think this episode is geared towards that. It's geared to really encouraging people out there in the audience to really get to know the people behind the businesses, why you created the business you created, what inspired you, what influences you to, because it's not easy. I've had a business for a long time, and it is not easy to hold on to that brand message. It's really the hardest thing in the world, because sometimes something becomes easier, but like, no, that might be easier, but that doesn't come back to who I am in my core, right? My core values. Artisan, handcrafted, going to Colombia, bringing things. For you, it's like creating that special thing that really boils out from your heart, right? Like that really services your community and the women that purchase your things, basically. So I think in terms of like moving forward and expanding, because I know one of the things about you ladies is that you don't think just small. I know that you think big. And thinking big are the events that you have coming up. And the fall of 22 is like one of the biggest times, right, Gabby, for like markets and fall festivals.
Well, I think just now also people are coming out of COVID and feeling a lot more comfortable. Like everything's back now. Like last year it was back maybe 75%.
No, it's
now
hardcore
we're back.
now. It's revenge shopping, revenge
Yeah.
travel. Everything is revenge travel, shopping, everything. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the events. Miradela has a big event coming up November 5th. I want you to tell me a little bit about that. And I know you've been doing the Pan Dulce pop-up for a while now.
Yeah, so this is going to be actually our third. It would have been our fourth annual, but then kind of COVID dampened that 1 year. But this is going to be our third annual Sweet Like Pan Dulce pop-up. And it'll be hosted on the Navigation Esplanade in the East End. And that's where my shop is located as well. And we're going to be celebrating the magic of Pan Dulce along with more than 50 local vendors. And actually some vendors that are coming from Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas that I've kind of met along the way through my vendor experiences. And, you meet so many other brands when you go to these pop-ups. And so there's a lot of friends that are coming to join the show. We're going to have 2 DJs, lots of Pan Dulce themed backdrops.
I love that.
Complimentary drinks from Ito Vodka, which is a good friend of mine, Steve. He actually started a vodka distillery in the East End. So he's just starting out. So we're welcoming him. He's going to be creating some awesome cocktails. We have free beer that evening. We have also coffee, which is actually we can't forget the cafecito con el pan. I'm thinking about party mode right now with the vodka, but yes, the cafecito, also coffee. The coffee shop is actually down the street from my shop, and throughout the years we've supported each other at every event, and so I thought it would make sense to bring him along. So he's actually one of he's our coffee shop sponsor for the year, and he'll be open, and he's actually making a special tea horchata that day. So we're going to be announcing that soon. And he'll have his coffee cart on the Esplanade. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Invite my guests, invite my audience. It's November 5th.
Yes, November 5th. From 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the Navigation Esplanade, located right on Navigation Boulevard.
Awesome. And that's where I go and get all my Christmas gifts. Yeah. I go to the markets and I'm like, okay, this is where I'm getting all my Christmas gifts. And
they have so many events on the Esplanade. I feel like this year, finally, there's going to be a lot of fall events there. As a vendor, when I first started, I always was at those pop-ups vending. So it kind of it holds a special place in my heart to even host an event there myself. But it'll be a lot of fun.
I know, and hosting an event is a big deal because that's a lot of work. It's a lot of organization, a lot of coordinating, a lot of getting people applications submitted, finding sponsors. Yeah. So Carolina, you have yours as well coming up in October, and it's
my first one.
Yes, Poder Hispano.
I'm learning from the seniorities over here.
I know, I love it because sharing these things. There's other girls out there and other women that are like looking to do what we're doing. How can we give them? Honestly, for me, it's like, how can I help you? I know I've been in the trenches. I've done it. I don't. Here's how you can do it quicker and easier and like figure
You
this
just
out.
gotta get out there. I was a vendor. I've been a vendor at Sweet, like Pandul said, 2 times.
Oh, you have been.
And I'm actually this year. I think I won't be able to participate because of other stuff. But I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. As a business owner, you gotta get out there and be from both angles. Like, just
and I think that's an important thing. Like, just being as a vendor, trying to see like, oh, what makes this kind of like seeing the good things out of one event, right? Like, what are all the good things that I liked about this event? Like, organization, like, setup and breakdown was so easy because they provided me all this information. They were always communicating with me, giving me also flyers to help promote. There's a lot of little things,
little details that are important.
Very important,
and they make a big difference in terms of like a vendor. Like if the organizer is sending me updates, like this is graphics that we can use. These are the hashtags that we're using. Like to me, and this is the admission, invite your friends. This is what they can do. To me, that makes a big difference as a vendor, and it makes it like easier. So you have Poder Hispano coming on October 8th. Invite my audience. Tell them about that.
Guys, please go. Everyone go.
No, and if you need sponsors or volunteers, what do you need? What can we help you with?
Attendance, I need you guys to come out.
Where is it going to be, by the way?
Raise your flag. Okay, so it's Poder Hispano, Hispanic Power. And the idea is it's a celebration for Hispanic Heritage Month where we're celebrating most Latin countries either through the sell of food, product. We're going to have salsa class, yoga on the lawn.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's at the Houston Botanic Garden. So we have an amazing discount. So adults are $10 and students and children are free. Again, that's a discount we received for the event. There's free parking.
To get in usually, right?
Yes,
to the Botanical Gardens.
usually it's $15 for adults and $10 for students.
Okay.
So just for the event, like I said, it's a discounted price. We'll have folkloric presentations. We're going to have, which I love her, HTX Ronnie with the school bus. She converted a school bus for kids' activities.
Oh, cool.
So again, everything is going to be headed towards the celebration of our culture. So even the kids' activities is well thought out of. So join us October 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Houston Botanic Garden.
I love that. And please, please, please go out and support our local organizations and our local community events and markets. But before I go, and Gabi, I just want you to pipe in just a little bit in this conversation too. One of the questions that I get a lot is like, how do you fund these events? How do you get corporate sponsors? How do you get people to buy into it? Either as a marketing strategy, either as a social responsibility strategy. How do you approach these big corporate brands? I know, Miradela, you have Topo Chico, for example. It's a big brand, and I know you have H-E-B in yours. What did you do to get those big corporate sponsors? One of you can go.
So
You go first.
Yeah. Again, she has seniority. So this was my first time approaching companies with the idea of the event.
Okay.
I've gone to a lot of networking events for the past, let's say, 3 years, right? So what I did is I nourished those relationships with people that I did meet in those networking events.
Okay.
Not thinking that I had a goal to make an event, right? But what happened? Now I have an event. I go back and I think, oh, wow, I met so-and-so from, let's say, Geico, Comcast. Exactly. So what I did was, I feel that for them to take you serious, you have to have a plan. It's not just a little email like, hey, I'm planning this, I'm planning that. Okay, no. Exactly. Who's your target audience? What is your mission? What is your goal? And then just sending it out. Don't be scared of getting a no. It's okay if they say they don't want to participate, but maybe they'll
they'll say yes
for next year. Yeah. So
or there's somebody else that will say yes.
So just be wary of people you meet. Or not weary, that's the wrong word. Not be cautious, but
nurture those people that you meet.
Be aware of who you're meeting, and don't always think that because that person is not in a higher level or up in management, they cannot help you out. So just treat everyone equally because you never know.
Absolutely.
She had made a good point about putting effort into creating something and sending something out.
So like deck. Yeah. Your deck.
Yeah. And then usually create like either like a kind of a PDF packet of some sort. I mean, not everybody
like
has
a pitch
background.
deck or like a media kit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Almost like a media kit.
Gotcha.
That gives information about the event, about yourself, logistics, like stats. You know, like previous events. If not, just kind of. Well, then you talk about yourself and your brand and your background. You know, kind of beef it up, and then you talk. Then you kind of have either certain packages or things like that you can offer sponsors.
Got it.
Perks of some sort. It has to be an exchange of, you know, of one thing that I'm going to offer, either marketing, perks, or something of that nature. But networking is very important. You never know who you're going to meet and who somebody, they may not, you know, like she said, they may not work in the same kind of field, but that person may know somebody that knows somebody.
They can connect you.
And that, and that's, that's always it's always going to be like that. Over the past years, like my, you know, expertise of coordinating events all started with HTX Boss Babes, and just finding those connections there, which kind of led with Sweet Like Pan Dulce, and then finding connections within kind of like my industry, kind of the Latino kind of industry, right? But like with Topo Chico, it was kind of like that. It was by accident, by meeting somebody. And then I was just like, hey, you know what? I have an event, kind of throwing yourself out there. I know like there's kind of that sense of vulnerability when you're networking. It's kind of tough. Like me being an introvert, I call myself an introvert because I'm just so shy when it comes to approaching people. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, man, just take one for the team, Gabs, because like,
you have to.
You're going to have to make that connection and build relationships. And man, I feel like I've had a good relationship with Topo Chico over the years, and now they're at every event. Right. And I want to build that with other bigger brands. And I want those brands to support other smaller brands like me, you know, to see, there's potential.
Exactly.
It's a big market there.
Exactly.
You know? It doesn't have to be these huge grand festivals, you know, where these companies just have to support. No, there's tons of people following us too, you know?
Right.
And before I forget, because I'm like, I wanted to say this, but my advice to vendors, again, me as a vendor that I've been in the table sitting down, use your events that you go to be a vendor. Don't just use it to sell your product. Go there and network. Get up from your table. Go talk to the other vendors. Go talk to the people that are sponsoring those events.
Exactly. And I've done the same. Like you kind of, when you're at either at vending at an event or you're there supporting another event, you know, just as a guest. I mean, I know you don't want to be in work mode all the time, but it's important to be like, you know what, let me go introduce myself and see, or get a card or something. You know?
I get that. That's understandable. And I think one of the tips that we are afraid of the no, and we have to be ready for the no that becomes a yes, or maybe like a not yet, but maybe, and like holding on to those things and nurturing those relationships as well. Like when you meet somebody and you're like, you hold that card, you send a message, you have to be nurturing all the time. You know, that's one of the things that I've discovered as I'm a podcaster and looking for sponsors. It's like the people that I nurture always come back and say, I remember you. I would definitely like to participate. Or what can I do to help you? What can I do to be there for you? Gabi, just one last thing before we go. Just give us a tip, a PR tip on how we can send out that message and pitch ourselves.
So I would say to pitch to media, you need to have at least some photos. A pitch deck is good, and pitch to everybody. Okay. Don't like high-end publications, your community newsletter, your community calendar, pitch to everybody.
Gotcha. I love that.
And do it in enough time.
Exactly.
Not the weekend before, not the week.
That's really important.
Talking about starting 2 months before.
Yes.
If you want to be in a magazine, we work on a 2-month lead time. So right now,
perfect.
Finishing up November, and we're in, what month are we?
September.
I know, it's weird.
So, you know,
I know.
You need to do it with enough time.
And she has a good point. Like, even like if you're getting drink sponsors with Topo Chico, at least a month in advance, 2 months in advance, because they have a certain budget. Yeah. And you're not the only person that they've reached out to. Yeah. So they're kind of, you know, trying to see how much, you know, product they can kind of spread out to. So yes, definitely giving people enough time. Don't reach out a week prior as well too, like you want to give them enough, an opportunity for you to, promote them and, give them these perks that you promise, because a week is not enough.
No, definitely give them lead time again, at least 2 months, right? Yeah.
I would say at least 2 months.
Okay, so before we close down, let's go and see how people can follow you, where they can find you, and where they can find your events that you're doing, Carolina. Arenas.
So for our business, it's Meraki Wayuu on Instagram and Poder Hispano HTX for the event as well on Instagram. And you could find our website at www.merakiwayuu.com.
Awesome. Gabby?
Oh, okay. You can find Miradela at Miradela. We also have a shop in the East End. It's a 2500 Navigation Boulevard in the cutest little yellow shipping container. And then for our Sweet Like Pan Dulce event, it'll be at Sweet Like Pan Dulce. And for HTX Boss Babes, at HTX Boss Babes.
Awesome.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. Gabby?
You can follow me at Gabi of the Roses HTX and at Texas Chingona.
Awesome. Ladies, it's been so awesome to get to know you and sharing what you do and how you're inspired and motivated by things. I think one thing that I definitely want to just tell my audience is if you have any more questions, if you want more of this, let us know. Follow us, Advised by Alicia. I am so excited that you're here, that you're sharing with us and you're, contributing. All of us are here for y'all. And if we can help in one way or another, we're ready for it. Thank you so much, ladies. Appreciate it.
What time it is?
Friends, I want you to meet my favorite bilingual realtor, Elmer Garcia. You all know that a passion of mine is real estate investing, and having a great realtor by your side is essential. Elmer knows the city of Houston like the back of his hand, and not only is he highly regarded by his clients, but also by the professionals in his field. I can tell you from experience that he is attentive, trustworthy, thorough, and detail-oriented. He knows what I like, y'all, and seeks out opportunities for finding the right property for me. His services range from residential real estate to commercial and investment. He will guide you the entire way, I can tell you that. You can email him at elmerg.realtor@gmail.com or call him at 832-512-5752, or you can also find him on Instagram, ElmerGarcia_real estate. And don't forget, anything real estate is his forte.